Get into our first topic, which comes from Browns joint practice after a word from our title sponsor today, which is FanDuel. You guys know I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer and fewer games, and the sports just aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball and the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. So, guys, the Browns wrapped up joint practices with the Vikings yesterday, and the reports on the Browns' offense were certainly mixed. Some people said they looked good. Other people said not so much, and it kind of depends on who you were reading and who they work for.
Who said they looked good, by the way?
There were reports out.
I didn't see much.
Four from the Cleveland side of things saying the offense looked pretty good.
Okay.
The Vikings reporters said it looked bad. Pick and choose what you want in between. Ben
Right.
Solak's a guy who works for ESPN who was there. This was his tweet on the 2 days of joint practices. He was here for both. From Ben Solak, 2 days of joint practice with the Browns and Vikings, only one takeaway. Either these are the best two defenses in the league or these offenses, ...
Fill in the blank.
We have talked about the Browns offense a ton. Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb, this receiver core, the offensive line without Bill Callahan. How do they respond? And I feel like, for the most part, we've all been pretty optimistic about the ceiling of this offense. Mm-hmm. But should we have a little more concern with all the changes, the uncertainty in Deshaun coming back from shoulder surgery, the uncertainty with Chubb, the uncertainty with the offensive line? Jack Conklin and Jed Wills haven't practiced yet. No Jed Wills. Should we have a little more skepticism that this offense can be as good as maybe we thought it could be, G?
No. This is your chance.
No, I mean,
how the knees feeling today?
Man, I'm not very skeptical. I am a little worried about James Hudson though, man. That's the part of it that gets me because like some of the reports is the pass rush. There was a lot of sacks, people being in the backfield, and James Hudson is not it. I'm just keeping real with you. Like he's one of them dudes where I know we've seen him before, but I would rather not see him. Like it's just like that is what it is. And I'm a little bit concerned about the fact that there is no word on Jed Wills. Not at all. I mean, this is now the second preseason game. We have not seen him since last year. And from all I've heard is it was supposed to be, it wasn't, I don't know, any knee injuries, minor knee injuries, but it wasn't like no torn ACL or nothing.
Right.
So I haven't heard from him. I don't know what the update on Jack Conklin is. And my thing about offensive linemen is, Tyvis, when you start dealing with injuries, it take a little bit of time for offensive linemen to get in game shape. You be out there sucking wind. You can't breathe. You you play 3-4 plays in a row. To me, yes, when it comes to this offensive line, I'm a little concerned about it because I don't know what's up with that left tackle position is pivotal.
Well, I wouldn't call it the entire offensive line. It's just that left tackle spot. And I think that it was an uphill battle because, coming into the season, you thought Jed Wills would be back and you thought that you would make Jack Conklin your swing tackle. Mm-hmm. But what happened is they took James Hudson, who I think every year he's been a right tackle, right? Because he went up against T.J. Watt and it was bad. Yeah, right tackle. You swung him up to left tackle, and you expect him to. You don't have Bill Callahan anymore. You got Andy Dickerson, whose probably philosophy is a little different than Bill Callahan, and you expect that to be good for week one, and I think that that's a concern. As far as the offense goes, I had my doubts about it because anytime you bring in a new OC, Tommy Reese and all of these offensive minds, Deuce Staley, all these offensive minds, and you put them together and try to come up with a playbook, it's ultimately always takes the offense longer to click than the defense. Defense is all reactive. You can go out there, see something, and just react. Offense is about timing. It's about getting the right schemes, getting the right routes, all of those things. So I knew that it was going to start off slow. But to see that we can't even have protection, like this is the time to figure it out because Dallas is coming. How are you going to get Deshaun Watson clean? Because you're talking about Micah Parsons. You're talking about D-Law. You're talking about all these good pass rushers. I thought putting the Joko there, Chip, put the running back to that side, help block something. You have to come up with a plan. But if these ends is in the backfield, then the season's a disaster before we even get started. They might need to make a trade or something.
Michael Parsons, week one. That man he has the capabilities of Myles Garrett of winning you the whole game.
No doubt. He could wreck it, certainly. And yes, right now, today, compared to maybe a month ago, I have some major concerns about the Browns offense. I think all over the place I have concerns. You guys have referenced some of them. You have all these new coaches in the mix. I know Kevin Stefanski is still calling the plays, but there's a lot that goes into preparation and making the game plan, and all these guys are new. We've barely seen Deshaun Watson on the field. He hasn't played in the preseason. He's played 11 games in 3 years. We've heard about him being rusty. I've talked about him being rusty. Well, that's got to end at some time. I've got other starting quarterbacks on other teams playing a little bit of all the preseason games, and Deshaun's not. I'm not saying that's his fault. It might just be
He'll
Kevin.
play Seattle.
Yeah, but I was like, why not play him more? I don't know. And we don't know when Nick Chubb's going to be ready. He looks great physically, but we don't know when he's going to be ready. The other running backs are okay, but they're not Nick Chubb. Jerry Jeudy and Deshaun Watson have only played together in practice. The left tackle thing is the biggest concern because I don't even understand why we're not getting any updates. He had that surgery on his knee 9 months ago.
I don't either.
It was November 10th.
But Bull, is it as troubling to you as that is to me? I know you mentioned it. Nothing?
Maybe he has some setbacks.
Well, why is it?
Okay, then let us know.
Why aren't we getting any answers on that?
Usually when you don't hear anything, it tends to be bad news.
Yes.
So we have to assume that this isn't good because they love to trumpet good news.
James Hudson is terrible.
No,
he's terrible.
If we're in big trouble if he's playing big minutes this year.
Yeah. Especially at left tackle. That's the quarterback's blind side.
There's a lot of guys, Dalvin Tomlinson, Greg Newsome, Nick Chubb, Jack Conklin, Jed Wills.
Yeah.
Like, that's 5 we ain't heard nothing about.
No. And at least on the defense, they have the same coaching staff. Almost every player on that defense was there last year, so I'm a little less worried about that. And the defense played well for the most part. I know they showed some cracks at the end of the year, but the offense was middling, and there's a lot of new guys, and their most important guy is coming off another injury. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not feeling that confident heading into week 1 on the offense.
Yeah, I'm with you, Bull.
Yeah.
And I think we all kind of feel that a little bit. The question originally was, should we be more skeptical? I don't think we should be more skeptical.
We just
like
are.
you.
Yeah.
I was skeptical at the end of last season. I said, okay, will Nick Chubb be ready for the starter?
Yeah.
What's Deshaun Watson going to be? When you think about what the question marks are, guys, they're the pillars of any offense.
Yeah.
Let's start with the quarterback. The biggest question mark of all.
Yeah.
We don't know what he's going to look like. We'll probably see him for maybe 2 series, maybe 3 in Seattle. What will we learn from that? I don't know.
Yeah.
I love your point about this offense. You can change coaches on the defensive side. There's going to be hiccups.
Yeah.
When you change coaches on the offensive side, you could have diarrhea.
Yeah.
Because there's, it is. It's you. I thought you put it perfectly. On defense, man, where's the ball and react.
Right.
On offense, it's an orchestra of 11 pieces, and if it's not finely tuned, it's gonna hurt your ears.
Right.
And so that's my fear. Quarterback is a big question mark. Running back is a huge question mark. And let's go beyond Nick Chubb, guys. Who is the guy?
That's a good question.
the guy?
I watched Jerome Ford, and he was okay last year.
He was okay.
Yeah,
he got better as the season went on.
I was not impressed. The 2 carries that I see him get, and there's 2 carries. I'm a sample size guy.
Talking about in the preseason?
In preseason.
He played?
He
had 2 carries.
He runs around like Bambi, Tyvis. He's tipping
Wait
out high.
a minute. Wait. When you looked at these 2 carries, was it blocked properly?
Bro, listen.
Is it like Trent Richardson where he's just missing the whole gap, or was it like nothing there to begin with?
It be dancing around.
Yeah,
I'm like,
if it's nothing there, G, he got no choice.
In the league, ain't no dancing. You stick your nose in
make
there
a decision
and you
and
get
go.
3 yards.
I heard.
You're not wrong.
I interviewed for my podcast a guy I think Sean King, the former Buccaneers.
I covered Sean and worked with him.
I saw that interview.
So
how was he, by the way?
He was
good?
great.
Good.
He was great. I talked to him about Deshaun Watson. I'll get to that in a second, but I thought of it because you mentioned the running back situation. And I asked him about Jerome Ford, and I said, are we just being too tough on him because we're used to seeing Nick Chubb and he's great, and so anything beyond that doesn't look great? He goes, no. He goes, Jerome Ford's a good back. The problem with Jerome Ford is, like, this system that the Browns run in terms of running game is perfect for Nick Chubb. Mm-hmm. But for Jerome Ford, he's more of a guy that would fit in Miami.
Yes.
Or in San Francisco,
No,
kind of what they do. He's not as good a fit for this offense. He also said, I was asking him about Watson, and I was like, what about the rustiness and mental hurdles he's got to go over? And he's just like, you know what? Guy's just got to play ball. He's getting paid a zillion. He didn't want to hear any of that. He didn't want to hear about. He says he still believes in him, but he's like, I don't want to hear about rust. I don't want to hear about mental stuff. He's getting paid a lot of money. I think, the guys of that era are pissed. These guys make so much more money, I think, to some degree. But he was like, he's got to go out there and play some winning football.
Yeah, but he's not wrong by pointing out the money.
Yeah.
Because you were paid to be a next-level elite quarterback that takes the team to the Super Bowl.
That's right.
Haven't seen that. And you're right about the excuses. And I think even in Deshaun's mind, Deshaun knows I've played the suspension card.
Yeah.
I've played the injury card. I'm out.
That's
I got one card left. My play.
That's it.
What I do.
No more excuses.
And by the way, I mentioned all of the things that I'm concerned about. I didn't mention the wide receiver room because really outside of Amari Cooper, I know Jerry Jeudy's guy. What's the first word you use on him? It begins with a P.
Yeah.
Potential.
Yeah.
What's the first word you use with all of our receivers? Potential. Probably David Bell.
I seen him give somebody some work on a one-on-one.
I saw that too. I like that. That was nice. But
you see that?
Again, it's practice.
Put him in the blender.
It's practice. I'd rather see it than not.
Yeah.
But it's practice.
I like that.
So I mean, and then the offensive line. So I've got concerns. Everywhere. And it needs to be pointed out that last year, in years where Njoku and Cooper had their best years as Browns, the guy delivering the football to both of them isn't here. The guy where they racked up most of their damage.
Especially in Njoku.
What they said.
Especially in Njoku.
What they
but when you look
said-
at Cooper and the 200 yards he had in the playoff game.
But at least Cooper has had big seasons other places.
You're right.
He was still really good his
we haven't
first year
seen
here.
that from Njoku
Njoku had his breakout.
anybody other than Joe Flacco. And he's gone.
The good news is, from all the accounts and all the people that I talked to with the Browns, Njoku has been by far the best Browns player in training camp.
Okay.
That's
just
good.
him getting with Mike Vrabel and learning some things has really elevated his game.
Great.
They say he's poised for a really good season. So I'm
to hear
not worried about David Njoku. And as far as the offense goes, like I said, it's going to take some time. But I think the saving grace for them is that they believe that defense is going to come out and be dominant. And if the defense is playing well, we're not asking y'all to score 35 points a game. We just need y'all to score 21 maybe.
I don't know if Sean King talked about this, but in his era with the Buccaneers, it was very much guys, get to 2 touchdowns.
That's it.
If we can accumulate 14 points, we're going to win because he had Hall of Famers at every level on that defense behind him.
He did talk about
now,
that.
I think that I'm not ready to compare them to the Buccaneers defense of the late 90s, early 2000s, but this defense is damn close. We've got some pieces on this defense.
And Jay, if shout out to Earl wherever he at.
He upstairs.
If Martin Emerson want to play like that against Justin Jefferson, I like that mentality. He said Denzel Ward was gone. He said, no, I'm going to take the opportunity to lock one of the best receivers up in the game. And Justin Jefferson came back and said, yo, bro, to play against a guy like Martin Emerson, to play against a defense like that, like, we going to be better. Like, look, if you going to blanket Justin Jefferson like
that was good
that's
defense.
great
That was
defense.
great defense.
Remember, Tyvis, I showed you a clip on that. Remember?
Let me walk you through why this is so good.
Let
me spin that again.
Here you go.
So when you in the red zone and you doing man-to-man, the first thing you don't want to do is you don't want to back up. You want to let them beat you in there. And then you play ball, ball. Like, you're supposed to be in between the receiver and the quarterback. And he does a great job of turning around. The mistake that a lot of DBs make is once Justin Jefferson went past them, they turn around and look for the ball, and those receivers will lose you on the route. So what he did was he faced him up, got him in the back of the end zone, read the play, seeing where he was going, boom, turned around, made a play on the ball. Me personally, I would have pushed him out the back of the end zone, and we wouldn't even have to worry about the route. But that right there is a great thing by taking the interception is great. So Martin Emerson, really good rep. That right there is textbook of how you play a receiver in the red zone.
Remember about a couple of weeks ago, I sent you a clip of that when guys get shook up when they be in trail technique and the guy go one way, another way. And I said, man.
It's like, this is cheating.
This is cheating.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, the dude came back and taught it. He said, no. Why would you do that? He said, when he slows his feet down, you're mirroring him. You don't need to worry about the fakes, bro. You just and I said, Tyvis, this is a cheat code. Why people don't be playing it like that?
Listen, it's the trail technique. When you see y'all play Madden, 2-man under, when you know you got a safety over the top, you supposed to let the receiver get about a yard in front of you. You want him to go right past you. Why? So you can undercut everything. If they throw a deep ball, that's the safety's responsibility. Your responsibility is to undercut slants, digs, comebacks, anything like that. You should be underneath it. So you actually want them to go past you and get about a yard or two in front of you. It makes your angle better. When they break their route, you can undercut it even better. So great technique.
Can I ask a question based on Ben's tweet? He said either these are the two best defenses in the NFL or the offenses ... I would expect the Vikings defense to struggle.
Yes.
Or excuse me, the Vikings offense to struggle because they are going against one of, if not the best defenses in the league.
And their quarterback, Sam Darnold.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I didn't expect anything from the Vikings offense. But when we flip it over to the Vikings defense, do we think they're going to be a top 5 defense?
I don't think so.
I don't.
I don't know who they got outside of Harrison Smith.
And that's my point. My point is, I think the reason the Vikings offense struggled is because, they're going against one of the best defenses. Perhaps the reason the Browns offense struggled doesn't have as much to do with the quality of the Vikings defense as it does to do with where this offense is just a couple of months into a new regime.
It's all new pieces. Like people forget, last year, Watson played 5, 6 games, and he was in and out when he was playing those games. You look at Jerry Jeudy's brand new. We don't know what he's talking about. You look at Elijah Moore, the fact that he only played a couple games with Watson. Jameis Winston in the twos is still the same thing. Brand new quarterback, brand new system, brand new everything. The only thing that's the same is Kevin Stefanski calling the plays, but he ain't creating the plays. I think it's a collaboration. And then you put on top of that, you got a swinging tackle that is a position at left tackle that's going to be a very difficult position to block up. And you got Nick Chubb ain't there. And you got a running back that, we just talked about it, he be dancing a little bit. So you can't count on the run game like you used to, where you can just say, screw it. We're gonna play action and run the ball.
Well, have we made enough? I know you guys briefly mentioned it. Last year, there was one unit offensively that was constantly praised, week in and week out. That was the offensive line.
Right, yeah.
Because, like you said, it was a swinging gate. It's like, who do we have up there today?
Right.
The one constant was how well they played in the face of major adversity when it came to injury. And we attributed that to the offensive line coach in Bill Callahan. Every guest we had that knew offensive line play, when they came on our show last year, and Lomas Brown comes to mind, said, listen, you cannot overstate the importance of what Bill Callahan has meant to this offense. That's another one of the things that I focus on with this offense. The thing that we took for granted last year with all of the injury that ended up being one of our positives, with Callahan gone and not being here to game plan around these injuries and to coach up around these injuries, this could be really difficult this year, the offensive line play.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair.
Am I making...
No, I think that's fair from an outsider's view. I don't know what you think, Tyvis, but...
When he left, I said that would be the major concern because not only was he the offensive line coach, he was the run game coordinator.
He was.
And I still think partially the reason to why he decided, outside of coaching with your son, I think that they told him we're going to a more pass-heavy offense. And so he was like, what they're going to do for me? So now you think about going to get a Ken Dorsey and a Tommy Reese who specialize in this spread offense. That's totally different than downhill, than under center and getting downhill. You're talking lateral movement with the running backs now, and they got to try to find a gap and then get vertical. So I don't know what Andy Dickerson's specializes in when it comes to the run game. I don't know if Deuce Staley, I don't even know who's in charge of the run game anymore. But I do know that it's going to look completely different because they're going to operate more out of the shotgun.
You played defense, Tyvis, and you played on some really good, sound Buckeyes defensively, right? And when I always look at it like this, when Cardale Jones went into the game and you had your top two quarterbacks, Braxton Miller and what's his name?
Joe Thomas Barrett IV?
Yeah, J.T. Barrett. One of the things I know y'all did was y'all probably had a meeting or some conversation other defensively, look, we don't know what we're going to get from Cardale.
Oh, yeah. We said that with not Cardale. We said that with the offense.
See? Right.
You don't
know what we're getting, so you know what we got to do. We got to go 3 and out. We got to get the football, and if we get the football, we got to score. So you put a mindset together to say, listen, we understand you're a little limited right now, but we're going to hold you down. We'll carry you for the first however long we can do it. Now, for the bright spot, the light at the end of the tunnel with the Browns is You got Myles Garrett. You got that defense, right? And so the first 3 or 4 games, you might not see fireworks offensively. Some games might be a little ugly. Some games, the passing won't be there, and it's going to take a little time for them to catch up, especially with the people that they're playing in the beginning of the season.
Isn't that even more reason to put these guys out there in the preseason? And let's iron out some of these wrinkles now.
Well, game 1.
They're probably not going to show nothing.
Yeah, they're not.
They're not.
No,
so
even if they're just working on timing issues.
Well, they did that in practice this week.
There's no threat of getting hit.
There's no crowd. There's no fear.
So that's why they did it. So they could get it. So they still protecting their quarterback.
Look how much that changes. You're jogging, and then you're on a dead sprint week 1 against Dallas, and you guys mentioned it. That is not a team. I understand if you're playing a team that isn't known for its defense in week 1. Okay, we can maybe iron out some of these things on the fly. But your learning curve goes up dramatically when Dallas comes in.
But it depends on, to me, that ultimately depends on how much they play in Seattle. If they play a half, okay, because that's enough time to me.
Is it?
A half is good.
Wow.
Because if now they completely missed the whole thing, or if they played in the first or second game but didn't play in the third preseason game, you're essentially getting 2 weeks off, so the timing is gone anyway.
Right, it is. But you know what scares me? If they do play a half and they look awful, it's not like it's week 2 and you can say, okay, we're going to take more reps in week 3 because we need them. If you look awful in that half, there is nothing saving you from the Dallas Cowboys.
Did they look good in week 3 against Kansas City last year?
Honestly, I don't remember. The preseason to me is gone the second it happens. But in terms of results, I'm just looking at it in terms of reps. It's live speed. It's not even really full speed because full speed you're going to see with Dallas.
Yeah.
But it is live speed, handling a crowd. You know, I don't know what the crowd's going to do in Seattle in a preseason game, but that's a tough place to play. You know that well.
Oh,
but
yes.
The alternative is this, guys. You could be the Browns and not play your guys, or you could be the Minnesota Vikings and McCarthy's out for the year.
But he didn't get hurt in the game.
I'm just saying. I mean, he
got
hurt in the first game.
Did he?
Yes.
Yeah, he did. He tore his meniscus, kept playing.
Oh, okay. I
And
thought he got hurt in
the
practice.
next day, yeah.
And still, we've said on this show a million times, you can't live in those fears.
And
Guys,
get
hurt.
They have a luxury. J.J. McCarthy is a rookie. They wasn't counting on him. They didn't think they was going to be good. It's different. Deshaun Watson tears his knee up. We're done.
But
I'll just do the show from home.
Tears his knee up in the preseason or the first regular season.
At least it counted.
I mean, does the Jet fans feel better that Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles on the 6th play of the first game?
I guarantee he ain't going to play no preseason this year. I wouldn't put him out there.
I mean, Burrow was hurt. He's playing in the preseason.
Well, look, to each his own. Yeah. What I'll say is I believe if you play in the last game of the year and you was only going to play 1 series the first game, maybe 2 series the second game, if you play a whole half the third game, that means you might get 4 series, 5 series.
Aaron Rodgers ain't playing in the preseason because he's 40 years old.
And does he need it? Like, he understands the difference between practice speed and real-life game speed.
Listen, at this point, every quarterback should understand what it is.
But then why play him at all? They're going to play him in the third game.
Whoa.
If you're so worried
where it's going, right?
Because you have to play Deshaun in this one because it's a new offense.
Yeah, I don't want to see him in this offense for the first time against the Dallas
think he
Cowboys.
should play. But G's point is I don't want to play him. He's
he has to
He's
play.
gonna play in Seattle.
Oh, you talking about the other two? Yeah, I don't care about it. The first one I don't care about. A lot of people don't.
I'm talking about the
second one. They had joint practices, so you don't need to put him out there in the game. Third one, you need to play.
And he pretty much took every single rep.
Yeah.
Even in twos didn't get reps. He took all of them.
I'll be curious to see because Burrow played in the first preseason game, obviously coming off an injury too. They're having joint practice with the Bears.
Yeah, how much will he play in week 2
I don't know if he's going to play. I'm not sure.
Have you heard anything yet?
No, I haven't paid close enough attention to it, but and we'll see. But I mean, it's a tough test for the Browns, on both sides of the ball against the Cowboys.
Bless you.
Thank you. Because now they're kind of one-dimensional on offense. They don't really have I don't even know. I guess Zeke Elliott's their starting running back.
You guess.
I mean, he's not very good.
It ain't no guess. Zeke is number one.
But he's not that good. You know he's not that good.
Zeke coming back. Zeke going for 1,000 yards.
But Dak is an excellent quarterback. I mean, he's a top 10 quarterback. And you're playing against CeeDee Lamb, a top 5 wide receiver. I mean, that's a challenge for the defense.
Don't they got that other defense? What's his name?
DeMarcus Lawrence.
Yeah. That's tough.
He's kind of gone under the radar the last year.
That's still tough. I don't like that, man. They figure that tackle thing out, McNuggets.
Now, you know what?
It's a real issue.
All these concerns, they're going to come out there and put up 35 against the
Yeah.
Cowboys, and we're
Well.
like, hey, we don't know what the hell we're talking about.
It's the beauty of football, Jay, and it's the beauty of why you can't put too much stock into any of the preseason joint practice.
Or into what we say.
And in that too.
It's all a guess. It's speculation.
Yeah.
But it feels
don't
to
know
me
yet,
like, I put a bow on this by asking Tyvis because I wanted to earlier in the segment. It feels like the preseason is irrelevant as it's ever been, and it's always been irrelevant. And with the league pushing for 18 games, to me,
Gone.
it feels like it is gone. The preseason is done with, and they're going to instead do a lot more of these joint practices with teams, and that will be where teams get their experience.
Well, the joint practices is more because you get to actually work on the things that you want to work on. There's so much stock that's being in that because that team is either running an offense that you're going to see defensively throughout the year or they're going to run a defense that you're going to see throughout the year. You got to get your work in and figure out what plays work against that offense or that defense. So they put all their stock in there. The games is vanilla. They're not doing anything.
Would you be okay with that if the preseason went away?
See, my only issue is from a undrafted to a guy that's battling, you need that game film because other teams not going to say, let me see your practice film.
Well,
They're not doing
but
that.
every player in that situation is in the same boat, so they're going to have to figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, they're probably
I think
making
they're
two.
gonna expand the rosters. They're going to have to expand the roster so more guys will get jobs.
Yeah.
And yes, I think what they're going to do is each team will have 2 joint practices. And then on the final day of joint practice, you play it at the stadium, and people pay a few bucks to go to it, even though it's a scrimmage and not a game.
Kind of like the Buckeye spring game.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just like a glorified
No quarterback
scrimmage,
hits.
but they've got to sell tickets because they got to make money.
Yeah, and people will go.
People want to see it.
You're not getting rid. You got to have at least 2 of them. I think if anytime they add a game, they take a preseason.
I bet you.
Okay.
I think there's going to be no games.
I don't
think
think
just
that's-
scrimmage.
I think that's where it feels like that's where it's
Yeah.
going. Okay.